What happens when one of America's closest strategic partners refuses to play by Washington's rules? When a rising superpower, led by a leader with sky-high approval ratings, starts cutting billion-dollar deals with the very nations the West is trying to isolate. That's exactly what's happening with India under Prime Minister Narendra Modi. While the world draws battle lines over Ukraine, China, and global power, Modi is rewriting the rules of diplomacy, and the West is getting nervous. Welcome to India's Power Play. Why the world is worried. A deep dive into how India is leveraging global chaos to its advantage. May 26, 2014. A turning point in India's political landscape. It was the day Narendra Modi, the Bharatiya Janata Party's candidate, became the Prime Minister of India, a role that he still holds in 2025. The nation's Lok Sabha, that is their lower parliament, has sworn in the former Chief Minister of Gujarat as the Prime Minister for 3 consecutive terms, 2014, 2019 and 2024. A combined total, to date, of 11 years. Yet Modi is not India's longest-serving Prime Minister. No, that would be Jawaharlal Nehru, the country's first PM who held office continuously from the 15th of August 1947 until his death on the 27th of May 1964, just shy of 17 years. Is Modi on track to beat that record? Yes, he is. The Lok Sabha will meet again in June 2029 to decide the next Prime Minister of the nation. By then, Modi would have completed a further 4 years, and a February 2025 poll by India Today showed Modi with a 62% approval rating, with 36% describing his performance as outstanding. This isn't solely the result of forming a strong coalition with political allies, although we cannot understate the importance that holds. No, this is about so much more than political strategizing. It's simply the fact that the people of India trust Narendra Modi. Yes, there are critics and people who strongly oppose the BJP. It's also true that voter fatigue played a role in the party falling short of its 400-par plan. But it's also undeniable that Modi has adopted a wholly new way of governance. That is, he talks directly to the everyday Indian. The PM will have conversations with constituents in every corner of the nation via Man Ki Baat. He'll hold political rallies where he reminds India of its glorious past and how westernization has stripped the subcontinent of what made it great in the first place. He'll encourage Indians to buy Indian goods via the Make in India program. He'll also evoke sentiments by drawing from the Hindutva ideology. For anyone who might not know, Hindutva is an ideology that promotes the idea of India as a fundamentally Hindu nation, not just in religious terms, but as a cultural and civilizational identity. Unlike Hinduism, which is a diverse, pluralistic religion, Hindutva is a political ideology. It emphasizes cultural unity, national pride, and the supremacy of Hindu values in shaping India's identity and governance. Is it an exclusionary concept? Critics would say so, yes. But is it a concept that evokes nationalist sentiments? Those same critics would have to relent, yes. The Hindutva concept has also given rise to the Atmanirbhar Bharat concept, forming a wholly self-reliant Indian nation. This concept has, however, given rise to something a whole lot deeper than just boosting Indian nationalism. It's terrified the West of what India has become. And at the helm, we have Narendra Modi. Defense ties with the United States. Historic relations with Russia. India has managed to maintain socio-economic and political ties with 2 superpowers at once. A feat that other nations could only hope to achieve, and it's all because of Atmanirbhar Bharat. This push for self-reliance has strengthened India's strategic autonomy, enabling it to engage with global powers on its own terms. India has carved out a unique, multipolar identity, not part of any fixed alliance, but respected by many. Atmanirbhar Bharat thus fuels both economic resilience and diplomatic flexibility, reinforcing India's emerging role as a powerful, independent voice in global geopolitics. India's global posture is a finely calibrated triangulation. With the US, India shares regional strategy, defense tech, and democratic alignment. With Russia, India retains military readiness, economic supply lines, and geopolitical insurance. With China, India maintains confrontation on borders and maritime spaces while preserving economic engagement and fostering diplomatic dialogue. The West is finding it harder to navigate India's rise on the global stage, and it's not just about power, it's about how India is choosing to use it. That confidence, though, makes some Western policymakers nervous, especially with India insisting on strategic autonomy and showing signs that it won't always toe the Western line. Now you've got Western allies questioning whether India still fits neatly into the democratic club. February 24, 2022. Russia launches a full-scale invasion and annexation of Crimea. The Russo-Ukrainian war has restarted, and the world is picking sides. The West, unsurprisingly, is overwhelmingly in support of Ukraine, imposing sanctions on Russia to weaken its economy and have it face consequences. The United States, European Union, UK, Canada and allies froze over $300 billion of Russia's central bank reserves, cutting off access to global financial systems. Major Russian banks were removed from SWIFT, the international payment network, severely hampering cross-border transactions. The EU and G7 imposed price caps on Russian oil exports and banned the import of coal, gold and certain technology products. Western companies like Apple, McDonald's and BP withdrew from the Russian market, shrinking consumer access and foreign investment. Of course, the United States looked towards its allies to follow suit. India refused. Historically, you'd assume that a relatively neutral nation would lean more toward the powerful side during conflict. India didn't. Instead of cutting ties, Modi actually doubled down on Russian relations, quickly becoming the world's biggest buyer of Russian oil. You see, Modi wasn't about to fight a fight that wasn't his. If anything, he saw this as a great opportunity to ask for a bargain. In what is easily one of the steepest discounts in history, India asked for imports of nearly 2 million barrels a day. To get around Western restrictions, India even approved Russian insurance companies to cover tanker shipments, sidestepping the usual price cap limitations. Trade between the two countries exploded, jumping from $13 billion in 2022 to nearly $69 billion by 2025. Washington noticed. A 500% tariff was proposed in Senator Lindsey Graham's bill in June 2025, seeking to impose hefty tariffs on countries that continued to buy oil and gas from Russia despite the sanctions. Graham argued that such nations were funding Moscow and inadvertently leading to more bloodshed taking place in Ukraine. India was, unsurprisingly, named in the list. But that bill hasn't passed, and it's likely not going to. Serving his second term in office, President Donald J. Trump has been a vocal admirer of Modi, claiming that he appreciates the PM's role in shaping India as a powerhouse. Regarding the Russo-Ukrainian conflict, however, Trump has maintained an oddly diplomatic approach, calling their relationship a mega partnership and speaking optimistically about doubling bilateral trade and increasing US energy and defense exports, probably to undermine India's trade with Russia. As far as the tariffs are concerned, Trump claimed that the US looked the other way when it came to imposing US sanctions under CAATSA, opting instead to preserve strategic relations. The facts are simple. India is leveraging both its position as a powerful economy and the world's conflict to come out on top. Both the United States and Russia have realized that Modi's premiership revolves around what would be the best thing in India's interest. What do China, Russia and Iran have in common? Two things. One, they're all situated within Asia. And two, they're not exactly allies of the United States. Whether it's supporting Western sanctions against Russia, joining US-led Navy patrols in the South China Sea, or issuing public statements against regimes unfriendly to the West, India is often expected to fall in line with the Western agenda. But under Prime Minister Narendra Modi, India has resisted that pattern. Instead of automatic alignment, Modi has embraced an India-first approach, seeking the best strategic and economic deal available. And it doesn't matter where it comes from. Donald Trump, for now, has opted for diplomatic restraint. He's praised Modi, emphasized US-India trade potential, and steered clear of imposing penalties. However, this pragmatic diplomacy may not hold forever. As tensions rise, Washington may feel compelled to act. The question is whether Trump or any future US administration can tolerate India's independent stance long-term. Modi's India is willing to cooperate, but not capitulate, and that could increasingly test the limits of US patience. He understands that being seen as neutral or even non-aligned enhances India's leverage on the global stage. For now, diplomacy holds, but beneath the surface there's a brewing tension between a West that wants loyalty and an India that wants leverage. How that tension plays out may well define the next phase of India's relations with the West. If you found this story revealing, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe to our channel for more in-depth breakdowns of the scandals that shaped our world. This is Dominex, where truth meets bold storytelling.